21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Approximately 50% of Americans have at least one idea for a business or product, but 33% would rather skydive than take the leap to being self-employed. My name is Liz Steblay, and I am a mentor, champion, and author for Solopreneur success. A lot of people don't know what solopreneurship is. It's kind of a new word, but as it implies, it's different. It's like entrepreneurship, but a little bit different in that you just want to have your own business, do your own thing. You're not interested in producing a product or having employees or building staff or building a larger company. You just want to use your expertise to make a great living and live the life of your dreams. I fell into solopreneurship long before the word was ever invented. I was laid off from a job over 20 years ago. I was working with a Fortune 500 company, and I got laid off along with the rest of the team that was working on that project. And I had worked in consulting prior to that job, and I called a former client and I said, you know what, I just got laid off. Do you need any help? And he said, are you kidding? How soon can you get here? So I literally fell into independent consulting before I even had a laptop. That first year, I made more money, worked fewer hours, had more quality time with my kid, didn't have to deal with the big firm BS of a consulting agency or consulting firm. And I thought, well, this is great. Everybody should be doing this. But it's not that easy. One of the hardest parts about being self-employed, or even before you even take the leap to being self-employed, is what I call FUD. That stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I imagine FUD as this little monster that sits on my shoulder and whispers into my ear, how do you know what you're doing? Who are you to quit a full-time job to go strike out on your own? Are you crazy to be giving up your benefits? You don't know how to quote your services. You don't know how to price your services. You don't know how to negotiate a contract. We all have that little gremlin that whispers these voices into our head. But when you're starting out, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, that FUD monster is larger than life. There are ways to tame the FUD monster. One of my tricks is to what I call name it and tame it. If you can slow down your thoughts long enough to identify if it's a fear, uncertainty, or a doubt, then you can tame it. So for example, let's say that you're really nervous about, can I really make a living doing this? Well, that's an uncertainty. So then the next question is, how can I learn more about this or learn more about being a successful entrepreneur or solopreneur so that I can go forward with confidence? That's one of the ways you conquer the FUD monster. I will tell you that FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, never really goes away. I've been self-employed over 20 years, and that FUD monster still whispers in my ear from time to time. But the great news is I've learned how to tame it, and I have put all of my best thinking and tricks into my new book, which is called Succeeding as a Solopreneur: The 6 Keys to Taking the Leap, Finding Clients, and Building Wealth. Being prepared to vanquish FUD is the first key in the book.
Run it up.
The thing people struggle with the most when they step into self-employment as a solopreneur is narrowing their niche and being memorable. That's the second key in the book, is to be known for something and be memorable. This is where a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that they should go to market or market themselves as either a jack of all trades or a Jill of all skills, when actually the reverse is true. It's more important that you have a specific niche of expertise because you want to be known as the expert. If you put yourself in your client's shoes, they want to hire an expert. They don't want to hire a generalist or somebody who's maybe done something like that before. That's why it's important to narrow your niche so that you can pop into people's minds when the need for your expertise pops up, and it makes you more attractive to your potential clients. Of course, I have 2 chapters in the book to help you define your niche. There's exercises and worksheets, etc. But once you know what your niche is, I also encourage you to think of your LinkedIn profile as your storefront window. What do I mean by that, and why LinkedIn? Well, if you're going in to be an executive coach or a management consultant, and you're going to be serving people who work in the business world, LinkedIn is the first place people are going to go to find out more about you. If you do a Google search on your own name, chances are LinkedIn is going to be one of the top 3 searches. So if that's the first place people are going to look to find out more about you, put your best merchandise in the front window. So if you were a retail store on Fifth Avenue in New York City, you would put your most attractive merchandise on the mannequins in the front window so that you would gain interest of the people walking by to draw them into your store. Use LinkedIn the same way. Don't think of it as a biography of what you've done in the past. Think of it as your storefront window and a brochure to draw people in. Don't make it all about what you've done in the past. Instead, make it about how you help people now, how you make a difference. A lot of people will put bullet points to say, if any of these things keep you up at night, we should at least have a conversation. And then you list the areas where you can make a difference. There's a certain way that solopreneurs craft their LinkedIn profiles to make them more attractive to their consultants. There's a whole chapter about it in the book and lots of tips, actually some free tips. If you go to, and examples, if you go to the URL 6keys.info/media, that's actually where all the images are from the audiobook version of the 6 Keys to Solopreneur Success.
Run it up.
One of the most common FUDs, fear, uncertainty, and doubts, that people have is business development and sales. People get really paralyzed about the thought of marketing themselves or doing sales or negotiating contracts. But key number 3 in the book is to constantly grow and nourish your network. Because as a successful solopreneur, you're not really doing sales, you're building relationships with a variety of people who know what you do, that know that you recognize that you're an expert at what you do, and that generates repeat business and referrals. Business development is more about relationship development. It's not about sales. If you look up the definition of business development anywhere, you will not find the word sales in the definition. And as a solopreneur that's selling your knowledge and expertise, it's about building awareness that you're an expert and creating trust so that your client feels comfortable hiring you. I've only touched on the first 3 keys out of 6. And the middle of the book and the last part of the book dives into more practical strategies of how to develop your personal brand, craft your LinkedIn profile, how to build your website. There's examples of good websites that you can research. It's also about how to put yourself forward as a business and not just as a freelancer or somebody who sort of does this on the side. The last couple of keys and chapters are about how to build wealth over time, because obviously that's important. If you're going to be self-employed, you need to be able to, particularly in the United States, cover your own health insurance, save for your own retirement. There's a ton of tips in the book that how to make practical steps towards building wealth over time. The book is also full of my own personal stories of how I've developed all of these things over time and as a result of coaching thousands of people to be successfully self-employed. But let me tell you one story going all the way back to the very beginning of being unprepared and not knowing what the heck I was doing. I finished that first contract with my very first client back in 2004. And about a month before it ended, I realized, oh, shoot, I don't have anything else lined up. What am I going to do? So I went around and I interviewed with a lot of the boutique consulting agencies in the San Francisco Bay Area at the time. And I discovered that when you go through another agency, they keep anywhere from 30 to 40% of your revenue. And I thought, what would that work out to in my case? Because most of my projects are full-time. They last anywhere from 6 months to a year. And lo and behold, I figured out that that agency was going to make about $45,000 as a result of introducing me to a client. They weren't going to oversee my work. They weren't going to give me any methodologies. I already knew how to do everything that I was doing. And I thought to myself, that's nuts. I'm not going to give up $45,000 just for an introduction to a client. And you don't have to either. And it's all about building out your expertise, building out your network, keeping in touch with people. I call that keeping your network warm. Remember, building trusting relationships. And you have to get over the fear of reaching out to somebody that you haven't talked to in a while. So let's say that you haven't talked to somebody since you left a prior job maybe 5 years ago. Who cares? COVID time was weird and everybody's been busy. And one of the easiest way to reach out and reconnect to somebody, particularly if you haven't yet made the leap to being self-employed, is to say, you know what, I realize it's been a long time since we've connected. I'd love to reconnect, particularly because I'd like to pick your brain about something. I value your opinion and I'm thinking of doing something different with my career. And I'd love to have even a 15-minute conversation to get your perspective. I call that the flattery approach because it draws people in. It's a way to reconnect with somebody in your network and you're not selling anything. In fact, you're not even committing to being self-employed, but it's a wonderful way to spark a relationship that may have grown cold over the years. One of the joys of being self-employed is that there's always something new to learn, and there's always a new horizon or a new goal that you want to achieve. Not always, but most of the time. And one of the most common ones is, how can I make more money? We all want to make more money. It's human nature. One of the tricks here is to make sure you're getting the rate that you want. Make sure that you're charging enough. The single biggest mistake I see people make when they first step into being self-employed as a solopreneur is that they don't charge enough. I have practical tips in the book to make sure that your base rate, it's probably an hourly rate that you're going to use to calculate everything else, whether it's fixed fee or a coaching package or anything else. There's tips in the book for how to make sure that that's a solid rate based on research. But then the longer that you're self-employed, you need to switch to hybrid pricing or fixed fee pricing. And this makes people nervous, but it doesn't need to. Hybrid pricing is basically where you can take a portion of your work and bill it as a fixed fee. Let's say it's the assessment or the diagnostic. You charge a fixed fee for that, and then you can do the rest of it by an hourly rate. There's a lot of situations and nuances to this, so I can't get into them all now. But one thing to remember is that the longer you've been self-employed, the more likely it is that you're undercharging, especially if you're charging by the hour. And the reason is you do things faster than you used to. You've got tools, you've got templates, you're not inventing things from scratch, so you're doing things a lot faster. And if you're still charging by the hour, you're actually making less per hour than you used to. I recently turned 60. I've been working my butt off for decades. I've built a nationwide award-winning business in the United States. I've built another organization that helps independent consultants and solopreneurs to be successful. That's called the Professional Independent Consultants of America, PICA for short. And last year I published this best-selling book. I'm tired and I'm ready to retire. I can retire, but yet I don't. And the reason is I really love helping people step out on their own to live the career of their dreams as a solopreneur. I'm 100% honest about this and candid. In fact, I'm getting a little choked up about it when I think about it. I call it joy fuel. When I coach somebody one-on-one, oftentimes I do it for free. I do these 15-minute segments called Ask Me Anything. And you can reach those by finding me on LinkedIn. But after those 15-minute calls, I am so excited because I have truly made a difference in somebody's life in just 15 minutes. I don't get paid for those things. I just love doing it. My organization, Professional Independent Consultants of America, that doesn't make any money. We're always operating on the knife's edge of running out of money and going out of business, but yet we keep it going because it's just fun. Now, I will confess that I do get paid for leading my boot camp. Okay, that's fine. But you don't have to sign up for the boot camp. You can just pay $295 for the first year and have access to all of the tools and templates and video recordings and asynchronous courses through Pika. But it's not exactly a charity, but for me, it is a little bit like volunteering because I've spent 8 years doing this and I've yet to make much money. So that's how I give back. I give back by helping people overcome their FUD, to live the career of their dreams, and live the life they want. One of the keys to success when you're self-employed is to lower your costs and keep expenses as low as possible. And of course, charge what you're worth. But we already talked about that. But one of the ways to keep expenses as low as possible and to get started is seriously just to start with the book. It's available as an ebook, audiobook, of course, the actual book. You can buy it on Amazon or wherever books are sold. So for less than $20 US, you can get all the information you need to get started and launch your own business. And even if you've been in it for a while, I guarantee there will be some things in there that you didn't know that you can tweak in how you do your marketing or your business development or your pricing that will make a huge difference for you. The easiest way to find the book, because both my name and the title of the book are hard to spell, the book title is Succeeding as a Solopreneur, but the easiest way to find it is I've created a landing page, and you can just go to 6keys.info. And from there, you can buy the book. You can learn more about me. You can find out more about the educational organization, Pika. But the other thing that you can find there's no link, so you'll have to remember this, is if you go to 6keys/media, that's where all of the images and diagrams are for the audiobook. Normally, you would have to buy the audiobook to have access to those things, but I just love giving things away for free, and there's so much helpful stuff in there. Plus, you're going to look at the diagrams and you're going to say, wow, maybe I should go ahead and buy the book. So if you're interested in seeing what some of the diagrams and images are and examples, go to 6keys.info/media. And there's a ton of information there too.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Imagine a space where triumphs, trials, and tales of entrepreneurship come alive. Welcome to the 21st Century Entrepreneurship Podcast, a gold awarded journey hosted by Martin Piskarik, connecting with listeners in 95 countries and ranking in the top 0.5% of all podcasts. Join our exclusive community, elevate your perspective, and embark on the path to success.